How's everyone doing? Good. Got the buttons? Yeah. So I'm Souleo, your moderator for today, and I'm also the exhibition's curator. And during this conversation, we're going to explore the connection between Beau's artistic practice and Levi's, one of the world's most popular brands. I think I see some Levi's out there, right? And so we'll focus on denim, buttons, wearable art, and several key themes within Beau's work and the Levi's history. And now, we have Beau McCall, man of the hour. And Tracey Panek, Levi's brand historian and director of archives. So let's start with denim, okay? Denim is, this material forms the base material for much of Beau's art that you see in the exhibition, and is central to Levi's, of course, as a denim apparel company. And on the screen are a few examples of Beau's works that use denim, and yes, there is denim as the fabric for that wine bottle. And so I want to start with you, Tracey. Levi started in 1853 as a dry goods company in San Francisco during the California Gold Rush. So please share with us how denim then became the focus of the company.
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. It's great to meet you both. And it was really great to go through the exhibition. So Levi's is going to be Levi Strauss & Company will be 175 years in 3 years, 2028. It started during the Gold Rush, 1853, as you correctly pointed out. It didn't begin with denim. Levi himself, an immigrant to the United States, was an importer-exporter. He wasn't manufacturing anything until he got more well-established. So the photo that you see up on the screen is the headquarters after he become very successful pretty quickly. So this is about 20 years into it. At this point, he has many salesmen who are traveling all over the American West. Because the company was located here in the Pacific, in San Francisco, there were also some customers as far away as Hawaii, Japan, even Australia, but most were in the American West. And all of these salesmen you see here would have different areas or regions in the American West. And one of the regions was Nevada, which is our neighbor state. And in 1872, so about 20 years after Levi had been in San Francisco and well established, he got a letter from a man who had an idea, a tiny but important idea, not unlike buttons, that would change the course of the company and allow it to manufacture products for the first time. And if you go to the next slide, the idea that he had come up with, he was a tailor working in Reno, where the Comstock silver lode had been discovered close by in Virginia City, if any of you have been there. And the tailor had been asked by a woman to create some work pants. Her husband, they kept tearing, she couldn't keep them in them, and so he came up with the idea of adding little bits of metal to the pants in the pocket area in particular. And it made them so much stronger. This customer started spreading the word, and the tailor, whose name was Jacob Davis, couldn't keep up with the demand. So in this letter, in addition to sharing this idea of riveting pockets, he invited the company to take out a patent, and I think we'll see it in the next slide, that was granted. This is a U.S. patent granted May 20th, 1873. 150 years ago in 2023, and if you look at that little sketch there, all the little dots, most of the dots there in the pant are where the original rivets were. So there were a few extra than what we have today, but that innovation would be the first manufacturing for the company, and denim would be the fabric of choice.
Amazing. And Beau, denim is your fabric of choice, right? And you use it in both the visual and the wearable art as we've seen. So how did you come to work with denim in your practice?
Well, as we know, in the exhibition, there's a sweater in the front, and that was the actual first piece that I used buttons on. It took me 6 months to complete. This was at the height of disco. I went out to a club and got rave reviews over this sweater. But as time went on, the sweater started wearing. It started at my waist, and by the time I got finished wearing the sweater out, it was down to my knees. So it was a lot of trial and error trying to figure out what kind of material would sustain the weight of buttons. So, of course, denim is an American classic. So I started with a black denim jacket that I had myself, and I realized that the durability of the fabric could hold all this weight, because some of the pieces went from 5 pounds to 50 pounds. So from there, I just continuously started using denim. And then in today's age with denim is very fashionable. You have the classic denim jacket, classic denim jeans, but then you have things that are out of the box that are denim. So it's easier to find. In the beginning, it was just classic pieces, and then I started to deconstruct the patterns of denim. Like here, I cut away the jacket and made my little yokes, and then the aprons and so forth. But I had to visions and how I saw denim and how I wanted to present denim. I still like the classic style, the classic fit, but most importantly, it's the durability that I love about denim. And Levi's, I love Levi's. There's just something about this little tag that just gets me excited.
I was gonna ask you, I was like, why is Levi's one of your favorites? But no, keep that. Because denim as a material has really important connections to the slave trade. And slave plantation workers produced indigo for the denim uniforms that they wore. Repurposed denim has become really important in the Black community. The idea of making something out of nothing, taking that workwear and transforming it for yourself out of necessity. So, Beau, how does your work pay tribute to this tradition of reclamation and upcycling?
I was upcycling before upcycling became a thing. My mom did a lot of thrifting when we was kids, and she did so much thrifting, we hated to go shopping with her. So in that, I got the bug and learned how to thrift myself and learn how to source and learn the quality of different garments and different fabrics and different labels just from her. And then she would take stuff and repurpose it. And at the time, I don't know what repurposing was. It wasn't a name for it. And she would have us trash picking. We would go to the supermarket, and on the way going or coming, she would see something in the trash, and she would make me and my brother go back in. Go get it, bring it back. You go now. We'll be embarrassed because we want to see our friends lugging whatever it is that she had. So it was from there. But in my practice, I'm taking denim out of the fields. I'm taking it out of the conditions that Black folks were going through, picking cotton and whatever else they were doing, tobacco, and I'm bringing it into a new era where I'm celebrating those people that are responsible for me here, exposing you to my craft, right? So I'm putting it in a glamorous situation. But when you look at the pieces, there's so much detail in my work. There's a lot of hidden messages in the work. So I'm attracting you with the glamour. But when you look closely, each button is specifically chosen and placed in certain areas. So when you see it, it excites the senses.
We're going to get to some of those examples in a minute. Tracey, I want to ask you, how has Levi responded to the history of denim within the Black experience?
Well, first let me say that denim, at least the denim that Levi's originally sourced for its waist overalls, which is what the company called its first riveted denim pant, it was 100% cotton. I say that because that's, especially for European audiences, that isn't always the case. Denim can be made from other things, but here, the American cotton was, the 100% cotton was what the denim was used for. So yes, absolutely, there is a lot of those connections to the history of slavery. I think perhaps one of the more powerful ones in recent years was a collaboration we did in 2020 with Tremaine Emery, Denim Tears, which the original pieces had cotton wreaths on the jeans, a nod to that history. And I think they did it in a very that collaboration in a very powerful way. I had a chance to have Tremaine come to the archives and visit with me when they were starting the company and he was starting working on that project, and it was a delight. Yeah,
love it. So let's move on to buttons. Okay, these fasteners are the primarily chosen medium within both work. And for Levi's, buttons are a key functional and design element as well. So on the screen are some of Levi's buttons. Tracey, I read that one of the earliest Levi's buttons was sewn on with waxed linen thread, but later the Levi's garments featured shank-style buttons. So trace for us the evolution and relevance of the button in Levi's.
Yeah, so buttons, of course, were an important design feature in the beginning. Let me back up and say that the original waist overalls, or 501, as eventually came to be known, predates the zipper. So the fly was a button fly. And if you buy our 501s today, you'll still get the button fly. And that was on the original. And I think Beau and Souleo, you had a chance to see. Yeah. Our oldest 1873 pair of Levi's, which have, I think maybe some of those were rusted off. Yeah. But in addition to those buttons on the fly, also buttons on the waistband where suspenders could be buttoned up. And what you're looking at here on screen is a button, it's a shank-style button. It may have been from one of those suspender buttons. This was actually an archaeologist who found this and sent me the picture and said, we found this in a remote location in Idaho. Evidence that Levi's had been worn there, probably farming or some kind of outdoor use. So what was important about our buttons is the distinction of having Levi Strauss & Company, SF, which you'll see on there, California. So the buttons were important identification and design element.
Okay. So these are some of the other buttons you were talking about, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There's the waistband, and that's the button fly, and on the left is an example of one of those wax linen thread buttons. Yeah.
So on the screen is one of the pieces in the exhibition. This is by Souleo, Chocolate Sprinkles. So I want to talk a little bit about this, Beau. So ever since that jar of buttons that you discovered in your mom's basement at the age of 19, how has your relationship to the button changed and evolved over time?
Well, today people ask me what's my favorite button, and it varies from day to day, and I'm saying all day. Just when I thought I saw the ultimate button, the next day I'll find something else, right? I think what keeps me fascinated with buttons is I never know what I'm going to find. So one day I can find some little dull shirt button, and then the next day I can find something like really, really spectacular. The last time I was here, I was at Britex with this lady over here in her button collection, and I found these button faucet buttons, and they were amazing. And the button is just, it's so artistic in itself before I put my magic on it. So that's what keeps me going, because I never know what I'm going to find. And in our travels, I found some interesting people with interesting shops and an interesting variety of buttons for me to work with.
So would you say you're trying to bring renewed attention to
well, this is what I always say. The button is an everyday fastener that we take for granted. We wake up in the morning and you button your shirt, pants, or whatever it is. It's just the function of what it does. And I'm taking it out of that context and delivering it to you in an artistic concept. So you can view it and visualize it in a different way, other than fastening your clothing, right? So I'm using the button as a language. And then the pieces, again, is how I select the buttons according to whatever the theme of the piece is.
So in this section, I'm going to talk a little bit about how both Beau and Levi's have been part of advancing the state of wearable art. So we'll start with this piece, which is Flower Power, which pays tribute to the hippies of the 1960s and 1970s, members of this countercultural movement whose birthplace is known as the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood in San Francisco. They were known to transform their own denim attire into wearable art as a form of creative self-expression. But how did the denim art trend of the 60s and 70s influence this particular piece?
Well, I was a child in the 60s, and as a little kid, it was the hippies going on in our neighborhood, and I was really fascinated with them because they walked around with long hair, they didn't have shoes on, and they had these amazing tie-dye outfits and embroidered denim and whatever. And when I would see them, I would be in awe of them, right? And then one of my uncles was in the army. When he came home, he had this huge, oversized army jacket. I think I was maybe 12, and I used to wear this to school. It was like 20 sizes too big, but I thought I was a hippie. And then, like with this, for instance, again, reaching out and finding the buttons that speak to the project. Underneath this thread is these boring tortoise suit jacket buttons. And when people give me buttons, I don't turn down anything. I just try to figure out how I'm going to utilize it. And with them, I had them for a while. When I started this project, sometimes I have to use what's before me, because other things may not be available at the moment, so I use what I have. So I started playing with this ombre thread, and I started using the thread on the outside of the thread, other than just going through the two holes and looping through. So I came up with this thing that I call webbing. So when you look at it, you know that the buttons are there. It's like an optical illusion. You see it and you don't see it. So I'm like playing tricks with the thread. This outfit in particular, it takes me back to the 60s, and most in particular, I listened to a lot of music, and especially when I was a kid. Sly Stone was like my first musical idol. And when I saw Woodstock, I could imagine somebody having an outfit like this on. So that was the inspiration behind that.
I love it. And you know, what I also love about your work, Beau, is that it really it's challenging the hierarchy between what is fashion and what is art, right? A lot of people come and say, oh, you're a designer, and we always have to correct them. No, he's an artist, right? He's trying to say it's art, right? It's wearable art. It exists in a different industry, but fashion can be art, and you show that, you demonstrate that through your practice. And Levi's has been such a supporter of wearable art, right? So on the screen is a flyer for one of the Levi's denim art contests. So Tracey, if you can just share with us, how did Levi's respond to the wearable art craze of the 1973 and 1974?
Well, Beau beautifully described a lot of what he was seeing during that era. What was very popular and what we have examples of in our archives are pieces of Levi's that could be purchased from a flea market for, let's say, 75 cents. And maybe there were some holes in it, but you could embroider it and you could fix the hole. And then you had something that had color. You could add some more to it, embroider, and you could create art. It became very, very popular to do this. And Levi's encouraged it. I mean, we saw it, the company saw it happening, and they encouraged it. So we created something called the Levi's Denim Art Contest, 1973, and we invited people to send in slides. Remember when we do slides? Slides of their outfits. And it could be a Levi's jacket, a Levi's pair of jeans, maybe a chambray shirt. And then there was a very well-known group of judges, and they would select, and by the way, this is one of the winners of the contest, his slide, Houghton Morris from Brooklyn, and what he's wearing is a Levi's outfit, and he repurposed bottle caps and hair samples to make this amazing piece that has movement. And at the end of the contest, the winners were actually invited to tour museums, including the Denim Museum here in San Francisco, to get some to actually bring recognition to what became a recognized American art form. Yeah.
I love it. And the next section, I want to talk a little bit about, social justice, right? I want to get some of the themes that are relevant within both practice and Levi's history. And this is the button apron black target. So, Beau, how do you use denim and buttons in this particular work to address the themes of social justice for the Black community?
So in this particular piece, we're going to start with the denim. So it's the denim. Again, we repurposing denim. I cut away the back of the jeans, the legs, and then going back to the 70s, it was a time, the 70s and the 60s, it was a time that my mother had these skirts. They were denim skirts, and you cut the little triangle where you would separate the two legs together, and then you would fill in that triangle with another piece of denim. Well, that's what I did here, but I made it a flat surface with all these red buttons. So when I start doing the messaging in the works, I sit with the piece for a while, and then I go back to sourcing what kind of buttons that I can find to help me bring the piece alive. So with this, this is Black Target, and I created this during Black Lives Matter. So there's the Pan-African colors, the red, black, and green. I talked about tender buttons today, with some people know what tender buttons is, right? So they had these Martin Luther King buttons, and they had Malcolm X. So I bought as many as possible, because you see it, you get it. And then I had a bag of buttons of these hands in all different colors. So the messaging here is me being a Black man in America, me being a Black gay man in America, and how I'm surviving all the turmoil, just trying to survive as being a human being in America. So these circles are targets, and in the targets, these are our leaders to help us navigate throughout this country. And then the hand is like the bloodshed of Black men or Black folks all over the country and all over the world trying to survive. So that's how I come up with topics and themes to put in the work. So when you see it, you smile and you grin and you're laughing. But underneath all that, there are serious messages to digest.
Love it. And Tracey, there's this 1963 photograph of Martin Luther King Jr. and Ralph Abernathy marching to protest segregation in Birmingham, Alabama. Notably, they're wearing jeans. We don't see a lot of photos of Martin Luther King wearing jeans, but this shows how denim was a strong political symbol of the civil rights movement. Throughout history, how has Levi shown up as part of social justice movements?
Well, I think one of the reasons that Levi's in denim has such symbolism is because it starts as workwear. Anybody can wear it, bottom of the economic ladder, and it means there's this equalizing. And so when you see this really moving picture of Martin Luther King here in jeans, and as you say, he wasn't often wearing blue jeans, it's to make a statement. Levi's have often been worn by people as a canvas to express their political point of view. Think about peace signs on your Levi's. I think I've got an example maybe in the next slide of a couple. It might be a little hard to see on the left, but it's a jacket that was owned by a Latino woman in Los Angeles who in the late 60s, early 70s was part of the Chicano Power movement. And I'll describe it, it's a little hard to see, but on her Levi's denim vest is a brown fist that she's embroidered, a pink cross, and Chicano at the top, the word, and power beneath. And I can only imagine that she wore it to some activists, some protests, rallies, and it was clear in what was important to her. And then on the other side, I had a chance a few years ago to go to Oakland and meet with members of the East Bay Dragons in Oakland. They're arguably the oldest Black motorcycle club that's still around today, and Levi's were their uniform. They'd wear cuffed Levi's because they were tough and they wouldn't get burned with riding on their Harleys, but they also wore them so they could have their colors on the back and their identity. It's a little hard to see, and this was one of the original founding members, his jackets that's wearing this, but he's got lots of buttons. They say different things and mean different things to him, but one of the ones that he was very proud to show me is one during the Roe v. Wade debate in the 70s, and he's wearing a legalized abortion pin, which I was surprised to see on his jacket, but it was important for him to express what his point of view was on his clothing, on his Levi's.
And Beau, your book is part of that history of using Levi's to make a statement. And this is a anti-Vietnam War protester in Levi's on the UCLA campus, so another example there. So let's move into music. So Levi's has collaborated with so many numerous recording artists, and Beau, I know how much you love music. I call him a musicologist. He knows every single song. He's like Shazam. So on the screen is Glam Garbage. Beau, how does this work reflect the influence of music in your practice?
So this was inspired by George Clinton and P-Funk.
Oh.
Okay. As a kid, when people put the trash out, there was a trash bin and there was a garbage bin. And the garbage bin had all this compost in it with worms and maggots, and it smelled really terrible. And then getting back to basic buttons, these are basic white, mostly shirt buttons. So again, I cut away with hands, legs from the jeans, and I kind of distressed and put holes in them with sandpaper. And usually the base buttons of my pieces, they're all one uniform button. But I had so many white buttons, I just decided to use smaller white buttons as the base. And then on the decorative, use larger buttons on the top. So for me, when I look at it, it reminds me of those garbage pails. I can just see the compost just bubbling when you take the lid off of this trash bin, garbage bin. There's a difference. So the thread, again, the thread that I use, it helps the button pop. So in the compost, it's mainly white, off-white, and all these beigey colors. So I've used a series of different types, different shades from white to beige. And then if you look closely, you can see these little metal flies. And then I have these plastic clear flies. And then I also have little buttons up there.
Yeah.
To emphasize, the garbage. So when I'm creating, I'm mostly listening to music. And depending on what I'm listening to, it might affect the process of what I'm trying to create. And this is one of the ones that did affect the process.
Was the P-Funk album cover with Maggot?
Oh, Maggot Brain.
Yeah, so
Maggot
make a
Brain.
Maggot Brain with
Yeah.
this, right? And
Yeah.
so get the juxtaposition work. Where am I going? Okay, cool. So Tracey, what is one of the key music-related collaborations that exemplifies the role music has played in Levi's history?
Well, probably the most recent and visible one is the work we've done with Beyonce. And we were delighted, and this was unbeknownst to us when she came out with her Cowboy Carter album, and there was a song entitled Levi's. So that was pretty great. What people may not know, and I had a little insight into, because I'm the historian and take care of our collection of Levi's, is that in the early 2000s, Destiny's Child, including Beyonce, worked with Levi's to introduce a very popular new Levi's fashion called super low jeans, and you wear them way below the waist. Certain people, like Beyonce, get away with wearing that. And there were a few brands at the time who would work with her, and in fact, she's been interviewed and described how that people would overlook them. She described them as country curvy black girls, and yet the company was, and I like to think because of
Go ahead.
because of her early partnership with the company, she was willing to have that song. So we worked with her, but let me share, since we talked a little bit about San Francisco specific things, let me share one of the first Levi's music projects that relates to the hate and so forth. So late 60s, the company was kind of, at the time, focused on Western, on the cowboy, and we sponsored rodeo in a big way, which we still do, but not quite in the same way. And we saw what was happening in the Haight-Ashbury, we being the company, and recognized that young people were being attracted to music. So how to tap into that? What we did was we had just, it was 1967, it was the year of the Summer of Love, and there were artists coming out of the Haight-Ashbury. One group, which was unrecognized early in the year all around the country, they were certainly popular here on the West Coast, was Jefferson Airplane. Bill Graham was working with them, and Levi's worked with Bill Graham to hire them to do an all-night recording session at the Fillmore Theater on Geary. They recorded 12 tracks, and the company just gave the product. Here's the product, here's some of the features, and left it up to them to come up with the sound. And if you go on the internet today and look up White Levi's, Jefferson Airplane, you can hear Grace Slick singing, and she happened to get 12 colors that you could buy White Levi's in, including the white. It's amazing. So we selected, of those 12 tracks that they created, we selected 5 that would run on the radio in '67. They didn't repeat a contract with us, because at that point they had become famous everywhere else. But it was certainly a way to get them and Levi's on the horizon for young people.
Are there any other exciting upcoming music and Levi's collaborations you can share with us?
Well, we just launched some men's jeans with Shabuzi. If any of you know Shabuzi, we're pretty excited about that, and it's a nice move from Beyonce to go.
And Beau, I know you're working on, music always inspires you, I know you're working on a series of divas,
Yes.
diva collages, so yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah, so that's coming up. I just finished Sarah Dash of LaBelle the other night, and Betty Davis, not the actress Betty Davis, the queen of funk Betty Davis. And I got a couple more to go, but in total I might have about 20 diva collages that I'm working on.
So let's move into our final section of the talk before we get to a few questions. This is about personal identity. You know, it's important within both practice as well as Levi's. And Beau, in your work, you explore your identity and celebrate who you are, your family, your background, your loved ones. And Levi's have played a big part in helping you tell that story and in people developing their own sense of identity. So on the screen is Born in Philly, Made in Harlem, which is, of course, a button-embellished Levi's jacket. It's your sort of like, you know, your autobiography, right? So share with us how you use buttons and denim to express the impact Philly and Harlem have had on your sense of identity.
Well, this particular jacket, this is the first denim jacket I did, and I found it in black, and you know, everybody loves a black something in their life, right? 75% of the buttons on here my mother gave me. Like every time, I had moved to New York by then. Every time I would come home, she would just have these little dusty bags of buttons. A lot of gems are on here. I had like peach seeds, little doorknobs, glass buttons.
Got the Philly pretzel.
The Philly pretzel. I have ceramic buttons on here, little African carved buttons. And then one time I could tell you, everybody who contributed to this jacket, because most of the buttons on here, it was my neighbors, my family, people I grew up with. Every time I would run into them, some of them, they would rip the buttons off. Are you still working with buttons here? Take this, take this. So this one is very sentimental, it's very special. And then sometimes I use found objects. So I use the ball chains, and yesterday when we did the tour, we seen how somebody else used the ball chain in working with them.
This is Malcolm X But anyway.
Yeah, Malcolm and
So,
Martin
that's
are on
Malcolm X
there.
Boulevard in Harlem.
And then I have some drink tokens from a club we used to go to in Philadelphia. It's just some amazing buttons on this piece alone. Out of everything that's out here, I think all the gems are on this one. And it's just really sentimental how my mother would just go out and take her time, and she would never say her son is an artist. And she would say, oh no, if I tell them that you're an artist, they're gonna charge me more. So I tell them that it's for me and the ladies at the senior center. So.
And born in Philly, being also, of course, you know, born in Philly and then Harlem, you come to Harlem in '87, see the Harlem Week fashion show,
Yes.
join the Harlem Institute of Fashion, so that's where the Made in Harlem comes from.
Yeah, so and this kind of started it all.
Yeah.
When I arrived in New York, I didn't have a clue on what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was creative and I was trying to find my creative tribe. And this jacket helped me do it.
But that lady that's on the t-shirt,
Lois
Lois A. Alexander
Yeah.
Lane, the founder of the Harlem Institute of Fashion, that's her and Beau. Beau wearing the button necklaces that are also on display in the exhibition. And that's where you got your professional start with them. So Tracey, how have you seen Levi's help people form or express their personal identity?
Well, listening to you, Beau, talk about this jacket, and I had a chance to take a look at it. I think your name is in buttons, right? Is this also? Right, which is great. Clothing is super personal, and we have several pieces in the archives where people cared enough about their clothing that they'll write their name on it. One, you may recall, I hope you got to see, is our oldest women's pair of Levi's that dates to the 30s. And the woman who owned it, her name was Viola, and she wrote in pen on the inside pocket back. And then we have others from the 60s and the 70s, for instance, and it wasn't inside, it was boldly a name. We have one that was created by an artist from Fresno. His name was Doug Hansen, and Doug is really big on the front, that he's created in fabric. He was a graphic artist. And then we have another Doug, but he spelled his name D-U-G. He was from Georgia, and he owned a Volkswagen Bug. So there's something about the Doug and the Bug. And he also he wanted his name on there as well. So I think that the Levi's offers that canvas. It's super. It's a clothing item. It's something that you're going to express yourself with, and even put your name in some cases on.
Okay, time for questions. Any questions in the audience? What's on your mind? Marie, you wanna pass it around? Okay, so no questions. We'll end the show. No, I'm kidding. Anyone have a question? Wow.
I'm kind of
Okay, we'll start here. We got Cheryl. And then we'll get to the lady in the back with the lovely pink hair.
I'm curious about how you sort. I know when you go out and you come home with a jar or a bag of buttons, you sort by colors, you have them in jars. I'm very curious because I have lots of buttons, and I find when I bring them home, spread them out, sort them out, and put them back in the jar. And I keep saying there's got to be a better method for the storage. I'm just curious what your collection looks like.
I sorted by material first. So I have bags of leather buttons, I have bags of mother of pearl, glass, plastic, wood, and then I discovered in separating them like that with this sound piece that I have, that they all have their own distinctive sounds.
Yeah.
And then from there, I break them down in color.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I get lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
All the different materials are different when I go search for the bag. Because when I did the wood piece, woodworks, all those wood buttons were together, so it was easier for me to do. When I'm doing my favorite is the hodgepodge. The base layer is uniform, but everything on top is all different types of buttons. And that's what gets me excited, because when I think through everything, I don't know what to pick up.
Yeah.
And then, I put it back, pick it up, until I find the right thing to place in that space. But generally, it's by the material that they're made of.
We have a question in the back there.
I have work to do.
Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
So this may show my ignorance of Levi's as a company in particular. So I have more questions for Beau. I'm sure they're brimming underneath the surface. I don't remember them. Other than the delight in your amazing work. But I was curious, I'm part of a group who upcycles sew, keeping things out of the landfill. So one question I have is, jeans and t-shirts are a high amount of things that are in the landfill that were different artists who like to use stuff or try and keep out of it. So I'm curious, one, about what Levi's is doing with the footprint around that. And the pollution, about that, and the pollution, there used to be pollution in the making of t-shirts and blue jeans and such. So that was one question. And then the other is, I don't know if this is connected to Levi's at all, but a lot of upcyclers, as we're looking for sourcing jeans to cut up and do things with, some of our group loves the jeans that are 100% cotton, and they're harder to find because there's a lot more lycra being used, and that, I'm curious if Beau has that experience. Like, I can't find any good jeans that will hold stuff because the jeans with the lycra are great for some things, but not great for, the
Because they
holding.
move, that moves.
So let's start with the
Holding
first
stuff,
part. Let's start with the first part about what was the first part? The pollution,
Yeah.
the landfill, okay, environmentalist, okay.
Thanks for keeping us straight here. So first of all, we have a community department, and we do work in donations locally. We also work with Goodwill and when we have samples, then they'll go to Goodwill so that we can source those. I think Levi's has also been, the company has also been pretty unique in their efforts towards sustainability, reducing the amount of water they use and improving how Levi's are made. And it's been one of our important, it's not my wheelhouse, so I can't give you specifics, but it's one of the important things that we've worked on, and including creating Levi's made not only with cotton, but with, it's escaping me now, the word, it's the hemp. There's a cotton hemp jean that we came out with a few years ago. So we're always experimenting and trying to see what's out there.
And the second part, I think, well, in terms of, because you don't like the stretch denim, right?
No, I'll use the stretch because the stretch, the fabric tends to move and pull in different directions. I mean, if you want something really tight that clings to your body, my creations don't involve that. And I would rather have something loose on your body. And then speaking of the t-shirts, I have a t-shirt collection.
On the wall.
Yeah, I call those triple T's. And I take 3 shirts and I put them together. You can wear a shirt about 6 or 7 different ways. And I had a t-shirt collection, it was about 100 or so t-shirts, and I didn't want to throw them away. So that's what I came up with. So I sell these also.
So I think, okay.
So this is my contribution to how I'm trying to save the planet with all my upcycles, recycles, repurpose. And I'm taking something old and making it fresh and new again for new eyes, new generation.
Love it. Any other questions? Oh, we have one fun. Mm-hmm.
I'll just talk loud. One for each of you. Quick one on Levi's. The archive sounds like really interesting. Is it publicly available to see?
Good question. So if you've been to Levi's Plaza at the base of Coit Tower, we're still there. That's where our world headquarters is. We've had a museum that closed during COVID. We've done some renovation, and we're about to reopen an expanded museum. Looks like November is going to be the opening date where we'll have pieces from the archives. It'll be open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Is that the storefront when you're walking by the front on Battery that you see, or is that?
It is Battery.
It is Battery,
Yeah,
okay.
it's on Battery there, yeah.
And Beau, I'm on the board of the museum, and I just want to say what a phenomenal exhibit this has been for us. We love it. And I have a very simple question. When you talked about a drink token being a button, it struck me that, well, the drink token is probably not designed to be a button, it doesn't have two holes. Do you use other objects and make them into buttons?
Yes, like with that drink ticket, I just drilled 2 holes in
Yeah.
it. But
Now it's a button. Are there other things?
so there's other things.
You make your own buttons too sometimes.
Yeah, because past 3 birthdays, I went to a glass making class, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out what should I make, and then I thought about, you work with buttons. So I made some glass buttons that, you know, when I'm out and about, I wear these big glass button medallions. And then this year, I went to a ceramic class, and I made some buttons with my name on it. And my button guy in New York, you probably know the name is Charmin, the nut that they make buttons out of. I forget the name of it, but he told me that you could crack this nut and you could dry it out and make a button. Carozo. So I found that nut, but it didn't work out.
Where are you based now?
What are we talking
In
about?
Harlem. So I got the nut, and I sliced the nut, and I put it in the window to see if it could dry out. And
That's okay.
it was something I wasn't doing right, because it cracked.
Thank you.
And I think we had a question in the back. Yeah.
Are you still actively collecting buttons? And when you're on tours like this, everywhere you go, do people come to you at the end and say, I have my grandmother's button box, would you like it?
All day, every day.
Give us, post an address. Would you
Yes.
please? My grandfather was a tailor. I've got 3 button boxes.
Okay. I told a story earlier today, right? Before people actually see my work, and they know that I work buttons, but they haven't seen work, and they'll say, oh, my mother, my grandmother, they left me an amazing collection of buttons. I want to give them to you. I said, okay, I'll give them my card. And they'll email me back and say, listen, on second thought, I think I'm going to try my hand at making something. So, you know, I give people inspiration, but over the years, about a month ago, a lady sent me buttons all the way from Australia. I was floored. I'm like, somebody knows me in Australia, you know? And I meet people in the street. I told you, I met people who pop buttons off their clothes and give them to me. But yeah, we went to Montreal last month and found a lot of button stores. One particular store, Rick's Rack. And then I did this oral history program where I interviewed her, and I interviewed this lady, Charmin of Britex, and she has amazing buttons at her store, and they tell me stories about buttons. But most of the time, people will give me the buttons, because they say that I'm going to put them to good use, and I'm giving them another life.
Right.
Because, you know, sitting in them boxes and tins for all these years, nobody's going to see them.
That's right.
So, in my practice, they'll show up somewhere and get another life, and get other eyes on it.
Oh, we have one more question. Oh, now y'all waking up. Don't y'all waking up.
You have stories on all your clothing. I was wondering what's the story behind your vest and your partner's vest?
Well, again, when I'm sourcing buttons, most of the buttons already have a life before I put my hands on them. If they're pre-used or they've been passed down to somebody. So a lot of times it's what I have in my supplies and what I have before me. The first thing, it starts with a color scheme. So if I have enough red, burgundy buttons to create a theme, I'll start with that. The same thing with here. Most buttons come in these dull brown, green, beige colors. So I just make a concept out of that, and I start from there. Especially with the wearable art. With the visuals, I'm paying more attention to detail and more attention to the statement that I'm trying to make in the piece. And then early on, before I officially became an artist and I would go to galleries and museums and stuff, the artist will be in the room and I couldn't identify the artist. So I said, well, when it's my turn, I'm gonna wear my own stuff. And they would say, oh, that's him right there. So that's how that started. And they're conversation pieces, and they're basically a marketing tool for me to get you to notice me and notice what I do. And then again, depending on what we have on, we make a lot of noise,
And these yolks are like, you were also inspired by nature, I think, with this one.
Yeah, with that,
the greens and stuff. And then I think it started like, he made one for himself, and then I said, I need one.
That happens a lot. I can't solely have one by myself.
We have, I think, one final question. Oh, what's that?
No, you've got 10.
Oh, okay.
You've got 10 minutes.
Oh, we got 2 more questions. 4 more questions. You want to stay? We're going to get care of you.
Hi, first of all, I just want to say thank you for your work because it's so inspiring, Beau. It's the fact that you have these variations of how to place the buttons on different parts of the garment and also reconstructing the garment by just kind of, taking away part of the jacket, for example, the Levi's jacket. So even without the buttons itself, that is pretty powerful just to see how you're changing the silhouette of the actual base garment and then putting your stamp on it with all these amazing buttons is so inspiring. And I just wanted to say that first off. When I was looking at the timeline of your, your history, I was struck by the year 1995 and when it said that you went through a period of a hiatus. I wanted to know what was your experience of that time period for you, what was like that, and what disillusionment from the fashion industry did you have that it seemed like it propelled that hiatus?
Well, it was not so much of that. It was a combination of things. I was new to New York. I didn't have a tribe. I didn't have people that I was hanging out with. I was still trying to search and find where I fit in it. Then I was meeting a lot of high-end people that was promising me the world, and I got nothing out of it. And every time I would meet somebody, I would call my family and say, I met so-and-so last night, and they said they're going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to make a magazine in a couple months. And it never happened. And I would get on such a high. My youngest brother said to me, every time I kept telling him these stories, he would say, did you give me money yet? Did you give me money yet? So I forget the name of this group that I came in contact with, and I sold 3 jackets. I think I got, at the time, I got a check for like $3,000. And I blew the check up like this and I sent it to my room. But in that period, I sort of went into a hibernation and I went into a depression because all my friends started dying. We were going through the AIDS epidemic, and my closest friends and friends who are part of who molded and shaped me and who I became, they were just drifting off one by one. It got really emotional and I couldn't focus. I was still creating, but I wasn't creating on a public level for the work to be seen. Like if somebody in my family said, oh, can you do this, can you do that? I would do it. But if a stranger came up and said, can you do this for me? I wouldn't do it. I was carrying a heavy load with all these losses, and then it got to the point where I kind of felt like maybe I might not survive it. But I still stayed focused on the work, because the work was keeping me grounded. So that's what went on between them. And then after I gradually came out of it, I met him. And then, everything changed after that, because he made me see further than I could see. So, yeah.
Oh, wait, we have a question here, and then we'll see. Yes. Okay.
I don't know how to follow that. Wonderful. But I just want to talk about your historical process, because we've talked about the thrifting, but you and your friends really sourcing out clothes from the 40s and wearing them at a time and reimagining them. Is there any particular period of like the Levi's over time, is there any particular period of design that you're attracted to? Can you share that? Or is it just?
No, you know, I would say the 60s, because I was a little kid. I went to Catholic school for elementary school, so I had to wear a uniform. And I was so jealous of the kids that went to the public school. They had freedom to wear whatever they wanted to wear. So when I got to the 7th grade, I kind of lost my mind. It was a period when we got the Levi's jeans, and you know, they didn't have all the variations that they have now. And I would get bleach, and we all did this, bleach and a toothbrush. And we would make our little designs, patterns on the jeans. And then I tell a story with FloJo and her one leg. I did that way before FloJo. Way before FloJo. I can remember walking around the neighborhood with one leg, and they were like, what is your brother doing? Like, what is he? So I would say the 60s, because visually, and what people look like, they sort of broke the mold of sameness, that people had individuality, that when you saw people in their own individual personality when they walk down the street. And I'm a people person. I'm out and I'm looking at details, and you know, I'm big on window shopping. And a lot of times it's really not what you see on a mannequin or in a department store. It's the people. It's the people like these people here. You get inspired by that. So I would say the 60s. And then the 70s, I was a teenager. And I was in high school. And this is when everything went retro. The Pointer Sisters, the Mad Transfer, Bette Midler, Dr. Buzzard. They all had this retro thing. So, and I was tiny then. So, you know, we would go get new suits and have them altered. The old ties, the varsity sweaters, the black and white buck shoes. And I can remember me and some of my classmates would go thrifting. And we'll get in the print shop fighting because somebody saw a sweater before somebody else saw the sweater. It was marquee. We were in the Salvation Army, and it was these two sweaters. He had money, and I didn't have money. And I begged the lady, just hold them, I'll be back, because I live in the neighborhood. She sold them to him. So it'll be stuff like that. We laugh about it now, but it was a serious deal.
And this will be our last one. Thank you guys.
So
Make it good.
I'll work on it. So this is for both of you. You talked about the 80s and losing so many people in your community. And as I believe is true, the 80s is when Levi's did that great DIFA program, the likes of which really has not returned. So I'm wondering if, and you were involved with one of the, you had a jacket, didn't you? In the design industry.
Last night we had an event with DIFA.
Yeah.
Creative Piece Away.
So I'm wondering if Levi's and you, or Levi's and many artists are looking to create any other great impact, great social impact programs like that one.
Are you asking if there's a Beau McCall Levi's brand collaboration?
Well, yes, that's exactly what I was asking.
Well, we're working on that right now. But my contribution to that is the collages on the wall over there. There's a whole series of that.
Right.
And in Jersey, Rutgers University, they offered me a creative gig to produce this book. And my book is based on all my deceased friends. Some were AIDS, suicide, diabetes, murders. These are the people that I truly loved, that I thought we were going to be old and gray together and pushing each other around in wheelchairs and shit. And they left me. They all left me. So in the process of creating these works, I take snapshots as I'm creating of, you know, color combinations, the type of buttons that I'm using, the thread I'm using, and they're all on my phone. So when I got the opportunity to do the book, I was trying to figure out how to use the button with actually not utilizing the actual button. So I took all these little snapshots and I started making collages. Because all the pieces that you see in the collage, they're actual works. So that's my contribution in dealing with the AIDS crisis and dealing with all these people that I lost. And a lot of people that was around me who I didn't know directly. Like when I would call home, all the conversations would be, remember so-and-so? Remember this person? Remember that person? It had me like in a chokehold. And then doing the process of doing, I did 50 collages for that project. Every day, I got so emotional looking at these pictures that I saved. And they used to always say, he's picture crazy, because you didn't have cell phones and stuff back then. And I wanted to preserve my beauty back then. So I always had a camera.
And Levi's.
Well, so maybe I should just clarify for those who don't know, in 1986, the company had, they donated a number of jackets, of our jackets, and they gave them to artists to repurpose and to auction off. And celebrities they had a fashion show at Barney's in New York, and they were able to raise money for AIDS, HIV research. And following that, DIFA, Design Industries Foundation Fighting AIDS, I've got that right, did the same kind of thing. Levi's offering the jackets, and then people, celebrities in particular, designing them and then selling them off. A lot of money was raised in the process. Levi's has some of those. The company has some of those in the art collection. If you're in the Dallas area next year, they're putting together what was created, as many as they can find from Dallas, and they'll have a show at the first queer museum in Dallas, in Texas. So it'll be pretty interesting. Beyond that, I don't know if the companies has initiatives per se, but yeah, but we'll have to talk. I guess I'll have to connect you with someone.
Oh yeah, okay. We're planting seeds, so thank you all so much. Thank you to the Museum of Craft and Design team. You all for coming out. This is the last day. We loved it here, and let's cheers.